That's good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. And thanks, Scott, and welcome, everybody. I'm happy to kick us off here today and talk a little bit about IBM's Weather Business Solutions and how that is being applied today in the transportation sector. So let me get started here. Weather is one of those things that we all talk about. Everybody hears about it. It's a water cooler discussion fodder, but nobody is really immune to weather. 90% of global disasters are caused by weather. We don't have to think back too far. You look at the drought-induced fires in Australia at the start of this year. Have some stats here from 2017. It's expensive. 31 events were billion-dollar plus losses attributed to weather in the year 2017. Insurance is hit very hard when that happens, but many industries are. It goes without saying that weather impacts, every business on the planet. We see it today in the customers that we serve. And on your screen here, you see a smattering of the types of industries that we work with on a daily basis. Today, we're going to focus on transportation. So from aviation to rail and freight, we'll discuss how we're providing those industries with some solutions, but nobody is able to escape the impacts of weather. So what I would like to get into is some studies that we did through the IBM's Institute of Business Value. We surveyed over 1,000 C-suite executives across the globe and found out some very interesting things. The most interesting was 100% of those that were surveyed believe that weather impacts at least one cost and one revenue metric in their organization. A lot of times when we think of weather negatively. We think of it as losses. It's impacting us. We're losing out. It's costing us dollars. But there's also a positive impact. There are ways that you can harness the weather, and by understanding it and taking advantage of the knowledge that's out there, you can do things to improve your bottom line as a result of it. I also, wanted to point out here that, weather insights as a service, many 68% thought would be more valuable than just raw data. And that's kind of where the industry's at now. For years, it's just been throwing out a lot of data at companies. Now we're able to curate that data, build some understanding into it, and actually deliver, insights as opposed to just the data itself. From that survey, I wanted to point out a couple of things. We talked about negative and positive impacts. You can see some of the industries that really considered weather as a negative impact on their operations. From agriculture, travel and transportation falls right at the top of that list. It's not hard to think of that, right? You think of delays across air freight and air travel. You think of delays and shutdowns on roadways due to winter storms. You think of areas that are severely impacted by tropical weather and shutting down infrastructure there. It's very easy to see that only 10% of travel and transportation had positive impacts or saw positive impacts from the weather. But in markets like insurance, healthcare, banking, and financial markets, they saw it as a lot more positive, to the tune of almost 50% for some of those. So weather's different things to different industries, but it's something to every industry, as we've discussed. So what we're trying to do in the Weather Business Solutions group within IBM is really, deliver precise information. If we can collect precise information, transfer that into precise forecasts and analysis, it's easier for us to transform that information into insights that can then impact decisions. And when you positively impact decisions, you improve your outcomes. It's an ongoing process. We're always working to improve the weather forecasts that we provide, the way that we process raw data that we receive. It's an ongoing circle. when I talked about improving forecast accuracy, we work with a third party called Forecast Watch, as does a few dozen weather providers across the globe, where our forecasts are monitored and validated and benchmarked, and we continue to this day to still maintain the number one ranking as the most accurate forecaster. And we measure it over several different cities in different geographies. So we've retained number one ranking in 1 to 3 day forecasts, 3 to 5 day forecasts, and 6 to 10 day forecasts. And that is measured in North America, in Europe, and in Asia Pacific. So we have 3 validation areas and 3 different time horizons that we benchmark our forecasts against. So it's important for us to continually innovate and improve our accuracy. The more accurate our data is, the better the decisions made off of that data will be. One of the things that gets lost in all of this is the scale at which we are providing this information. Weather was one of the first really big data enterprises, years and years ago. We're processing over 400 terabytes of data every day, of weather data. We're blending input from over 170 models to create our forecasts. We're forecasting for 2.2 billion points on the surface of the globe. So that's roughly a forecast every 500 meters across the world. We have 175 meteorologists on staff, but the scale at which we deliver this information out, we operate the Weather Channel app. We operate weather.com, but we also are the native weather app on Apple devices, as well as Samsung Android devices. We're the go-to weather data when you Google weather. So we're processing over 45 billion forecast calls a day on our data centers, and that number rises, when situations, weather situations are huge, like if there's a large, tropical storm impacting a large population center or a blizzard or something, we'll see those numbers approach 60 billion. So it's really, trying to take in this data at scale, do something to it so it can add value to people's decisions. And we're doing that and have been doing it for years. And our ability to scale has only improved since we've been under IBM these past 4.5 years. Whoops, I went ahead one too many. So in addition to all those forecasts that we create, last year we launched our own high-resolution global model. We call it GRAPH, the Global High Resolution Forecasting System. It was developed in partnership with IBM Research and NCAR. It's running on IBM Power 9 computing. But what it's really done is improved the scale and the resolution that we're able to provide globally. Now, we're pretty lucky here in the U.S., those of you on the call that are from the U.S. and folks over in Europe as well, in parts of Asia. Governments provide very strong weather infrastructure. So we have radar systems that are collecting data and other collection systems that allow us to provide pretty high scale resolution for our forecasts and for the data that you see. And that helps ultimately lead down to a more accurate forecast. But there are much of the globe does not have that level of coverage. A lot of the current forecast models out there are somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 kilometer resolution in what they're able to provide. The GRAPH model is providing 3 kilometer resolution. These global models typically update 2 to 4 times a day, and we're updating the GRAPH model every hour. And as I go to the next slide, you'll see kind of how that all translates. So if you look at the image on the left, that's kind of what standard global models provide today, that type of resolution, and realize it's only updating 2 to 5 times a day. On the right is the GRAPH model. So you're able to pick up really thunderstorm scale phenomenon within within an area. So this isn't radar data. This is actually model output showing you what we expect to see for radar activity, for precip activity over an area. So it's model-based radar, for lack of a better term. So you can really see, you could pick out individual cells. You can really understand who's going to be impacted versus just a general wide swath of, yeah, it's going to rain in this area. Where down here, you could see a lot more detail and understand the scattered nature of some of this precip coming through an area. So we're pretty proud of the graph model. It's going to allow us to what we say democratized weather information across the globe. It'll give areas of the world that haven't had good weather coverage, really superior weather coverage moving forward. We're using AI as well to take all that information. So the graph is just one of the models that we input into our final forecast. We're using input from 170 different models where we take that information in, we calibrate it for each weather parameter, for each location, and we actually create forecasts on demand. So when you pick up your Apple device and you click on the weather, based on your GPS location, Apple's going to serve you up a forecast that comes from us that was derived, when you made that app call on your phone. So we'll take in the most recent information that we have, not just the forecast information that we have, but that is, that forecast is optimized by current conditions and what's going on, and we'll drive that forecast forward for you. We're also providing some information on probability distributions of all of those forecast outputs, which gives us a much better handle on the probability of the outcome that we're forecasting. Instead of just a strict deterministic forecast, we're now able to provide a little bit of guidance on how that outcome may be distributed. So, if you're forecasting deterministically that, we're going to get 4 inches of snow, your probability data might tell you that there's a 20% chance that you could get over a foot of snow. There's only a very small percent chance that you'll get no snow at all. So you might want to hedge. This storm could be worse than they're forecasting. We might want to hedge our decisions based on that. So probability information, where we have so much data that we process, really provides a little bit of an extra insight to some of our customers out there. So let's get a little bit away from the data itself now and start talking about some of the business solutions, especially in the transportation world. But in general, besides the fact that I mentioned, the Weather Channel app and Google and Apple, really our focus in Weather Business Solutions is on, B2B business and going after industries that need it. So we have over 3,500 customers across the globe in 70 countries using our data. From Facebook and Google to Samsung and some of the large, auto OEMs out there. And we've always been in the business, the weather company, before we were bought by IBM and still going forward, of also serving broadcast television. So most of the time that your local broadcaster is broadcasting the weather on TV for you and in your local newscast, that's all that data is coming from IBM Weather Business Solutions, as well as the systems that they use to put it on air and fly you through the storm and do all the fancy things that they do on their TV broadcasts. So these are some of the areas that we're serving today with some of the products that we have. In general, I'm going to focus on the first three, on what we do in aviation and ground transportation and rail. But we're also providing, decision support for retail. So really weather insights, a little bit more than just providing them with raw weather data. We're giving them information that they can use to change some of their decisions. For example, Scott's increased their sales by $30 million because they were able to improve the targeting and timing of their marketing spend. They receive about 80 to 85% of all of their revenue in a 100-day window in the spring and early summertime. And understanding kind of what the weather patterns were going to be at the beginning of that weren't going to be conducive to people spending money on their products. They were able to shift their marketing spend to a little bit later in the season and recoup those lost sales without incurring the cost of wasted marketing expense. In energy, we're doing stuff with utilities for, outage prediction. So not just saying that a storm is coming, but actually being able to look at the data and tell them that this storm that's coming is going to produce, outages in this quantity and in this region of your service territory, so they can appropriately staff and equip their crews with the tools and the supplies that they need to restore power faster. We're also doing some stuff with energy on vegetation management, so we can help them, with tree trimming activities using, satellite imagery and AI. We're able to help, narrow their efforts so that they're not just sending crews to drive around to try to figure out where they have these activities. They can be more surgical and spend a lot less time and money. And we're doing stuff with insurance and agriculture. We also provide a large decision support platform that allows them to serve from growers all the way up to investors in the ag industrial space. So to finish out here in the 5 minutes or so that I have left, let's get into specific examples in the transportation industry. So we'll start with aviation. So Southwest is one of our large customers. In fact, we serve most of the U.S. major air carriers and several international carriers as well. Southwest is using our Pilot Brief Optima service that allows them to integrate weather and flight planning for their pilots. But mainly it allows the pilots to be more efficient in their flight planning, so they can avoid turbulence. Turbulent weathers are really expensive and unplanned hazard that they have to deal with, from passenger discomfort to the safety of their crews. Being able to avoid turbulent air really helps increase the passenger comfort and satisfaction. The crews are happier, but it also allows them to be more efficient. Avoiding turbulence helps save potential equipment checks on the back end. So once they've landed, if they've been through extremely turbulent skies, the plane has to get checked out, which messes up the schedules for that aircraft going forward in the day. So there's a lot of benefits to them by being able to have more accurate information, and we utilize data when we talk about IoT and distributed data. We are taking in data from thousands of aircraft on a daily basis, giving us information in upper air where we don't have a lot of observations, but also giving us turbulence information. So as an aircraft goes through eddies and other air anomalies that cause turbulence, we can measure that from the aircraft, get it, reflect that in our model, and alert other aircraft. So it's using IoT as it was designed to really inform and then alert other aircraft of the problems. So that's my example for aviation for you today, but we certainly do a lot in the aviation segment. In ground transportation, we're working with night transportation. Knight obviously bought Swift as well. So when we started this partnership, we were just working with Knight's power units, but that's since expanded to all of the Knight Swift Enterprise, which is around 23,000 power units. And we're providing weather forecasts and weather alerts for those vehicles. So we're getting their telematic information. We know where those vehicles are, and we're alerting them to weather that's going to impact their travel. So, whether it's going to be 80 degrees or 90 degrees, we're not sending out alerts based on, temperatures or things like that, but is there going to be ice on the roadways? Are there high winds in excess of, 30, 40 miles per hour that could turn over a truck that's running LTL? Those alerts are getting sent out, centrally processed by Knight Transportation, and then their driver leads are actually reaching out to their fleet to make sure that they're safe and out of harm's way. And there's benefits to that. I mean, there's obviously delay benefits to that. There's avoidance of accidents and downtime as a result of it. But But one of the things that they were most concerned with was driver retention. I guess the retention rates of drivers here in the U.S. Is somewhere around less than 10%. That means they have over a 90% turnover every year with their drivers. So you can imagine the cost associated with constantly hiring, training, and fielding drivers, being able to keep them safe and showing up at their destinations on time, shows that they care about their drivers and helps them improve their retention. So that was one of the things that they were most impressed with the service. And my last example is, I don't have a lot of fancy data for it, but I'll just explain the situation that we're doing with one of the large U.S. rail carriers. We found they described to us that they were spending somewhere around $14 million a year in fuel for winter abatement at their dual control switches. Having more precise information, the snow abatement at those control switches, forces them to burn more fuel and to spend a lot of time dealing with snow. And they were going off of very broad information, like there's a winter storm warning in effect in the Midwest. That wasn't surgical enough for them. We were able to provide information for, I believe it was somewhere around 20,000 and 10,000 locations across the rail lines with 15-minute update frequency, so they could really understand the precipitation type. They could look at the intensity of the radar in those areas, understand wind speed and temperature, so they would know where they had to address the snow and conduct their abatement activities versus where they didn't need to. And then they saw that as a very effective use of the weather information, and in doing so, we're able to recoup a lot of savings, of that $14 million that they were spending previously without that surgical information. So I think that brings me right to the end of keeping us on track here. Let me just go one more slide so you have my contact information. If anybody has any questions, by all means, just reach out to me at that email address, john.bossy@ibm.com. Be more than happy to address any questions you have. And as Scott mentioned, we'll have a question and answer session on the end of this. But Scott, are we doing questions right now as well, or?
I don't see any, John, right at the moment.
Okay.
So we will keep the chat window open, and at the end of the presentation, we will have an open chat session as well. So, so stay tuned for that.
Very good.
All right, John.
Well, thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for the update on weather and transportation. Again, these presentations will be posted on the sites at hopefully by Friday. So moving on, let's chat with Terrence a little bit and give us an update on Maximo World IMC conference and the reliability conference that I know there's a lot of questions out there with our current situation that's going on right now. So with that, I'll turn it over to Terrence and let him do his thing.
Terrific. You hear me all right?
Yep.
All right, great. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to have a chance to present. Really honor the fact that this hard work that's going into restarting or reinvigorating, re-energizing, pick your adjective, the transportation user group, very exciting, well-deserved, and doing a great job. So thank you for including us in there. I want to open just by saying thank you for this opportunity to present to you. And second, to let you know, we're about to talk about Maximo World and current status, but I want to start with a kind of a blanket opening statement that says if we cannot deliver Maximo World safely, we won't be delivering it. Like somebody said in the introduction, in the current situation, which is really fluctuating. The good news is Florida's kind of going crazy at the moment, and that means they'll have a chance early to turn around and get it right. They're talking about, quarantining people when they want to come into New York or New Jersey. So that's going to get the governor's attention, and they'll start doing the right things. So anyway, long story short, we're really thrilled. We are going to do our best to produce Maximo World, co-located with the International Maintenance Conference, which is now in its 35th year, and the Reliability Conference featuring Maintenance 4.0. So 3 conferences, 1 location. We are very blessed because of the location that we have is the best beach resort in the United States of America mainland. It's the JW Marriott at Marco Island, Florida. And it's the closest thing to Hawaii on the mainland of the United States that you would possibly find. Maybe some folks out in the San Diego area might arm wrestle me for that claim, but it is really fantastic. Gulf, crystal blue Caribbean water, 100 yards of sugar sand, as you can see on the beach. Normally, because we are a professional conference, we would sort of downplay the fact that we're at a 4-star resort. But this time, we're not doing that. In fact, we're upplaying it because the conference is going to be a beach conference. It is going to be outdoors. The stages are going to be outside. So we have plenty of room to socially distance. We can keep the fresh air coming and the sunshine, which seems to be fine. Just for those who are wondering, we will enforce mask wearing. There'll be no part of the conference where you'll be allowed to be without a mask, and there'll be no part of the conference where you will be allowed to not socially distance. So if you're against those 2 things for whatever reason, this probably isn't the conference for you. And I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but these times require brutal honesty. So the 3 conferences together, 3 stages set up on the beach. There's an exhibition as well, and they're going to be separate exhibitions. Maximo World is on one side, and the Reliability Conference and IMC are combined in the other. Now, those are inside, but our decorator has done fantastic work getting them socially distanced as well. So we have probably the largest marketplace for reliability and asset management, especially specifically for Maximo, anywhere in the world. There's service providers, consulting organizations, EAM specialized companies, Internet of Things, digital twin and machine learning is really raging these days. So there's a lot of those kind of vendors, plus asset condition management in the exhibition. The other thing that we're doing, our technology team is really going on overdrive, and so is the hotel. The hotel is opening up 3 channels of their broadcast for us to broadcast each stage. So all of the activities on the stage will be broadcast in the closed circuit television system that's inside the hotel. So what does that really mean? What does that really translate to? Well, if you want to watch the keynote and have breakfast in bed, you will be able to do that. This resort is normally $1,200, $1,400 a night for the rooms, and they're offering them to us for around $200. We'll also, for attendees, be putting it through a stream for smartphones and tablets and laptops and desktops. Right now, we are not planning to broadcast this to the world. This is a live conference. The idea is, normally with the International Maintenance Conference, normally with Maximo World, normally with the Reliability Conference, we focus on content, and oh, by the way, we're at the beach. But we're doing that opposite this year. We're at the beach, and we want you to reconnect with your community. So what we're really trying to do is focus people on being sort of, I'll use a word that may be socially inappropriate for COVID, but face-to-face with social distancing. We've all been connecting, and I really appreciate meetings like this. We've all been connecting like this so that we don't fall completely out of touch with each other, but people are craving that in-person contact, and we think this is the perfect situation to do that. We're also providing some certification. There is Certified Reliability Leader, Certified Maintenance Manager, a Lubrication Leader badge. Now, you've probably been wanting to get that for a long time. Digital Leader for Reliability badge on our new IoT framework as well. There's benchmarking sessions. If you were involved in the previous Maximo benchmarking, we have sort of put that on steroids, and we've got a tool that allows you to quickly come in and input new information every quarter so you can track your journey, and we'll be doing that with everybody at the conference as well. Or you can just sort of have your own time. For those of you who've been to one of the conferences that I produce, you know that I keep you busy from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. This is going to be a little more relaxed conference. We're going to give a lot of space in the middle of the day so that you can meet with your own smaller communities. The user groups, we want to host them, have meetings, hopefully encourage the transportation user group to come and have a meeting down here, and so you can get your people together face to face. But it is a much more relaxed and casual conference than we've had in the past. One of the exciting things is if you've got excellence over the last 12 months in your Maximo use, please consider joining the Maximo World Awards. There's no cost to it whatsoever. And we're looking to really shine a spotlight on people who are doing fantastic work with this asset management platform. So please check that out, the Maximo World Awards. We're also thrilled to host WIRM, Women in Reliability and Asset Management. One of the largest, they get together at a lot of different conferences. Maximo World has supported them always, and we had about 150 women together discussing issues at the last one, and we're going to give them main stage time on the IMC stage, on the Maximo World stage, as well as on the Reliability Conference stage. They've got 3 different things planned for that, and we're really honored to have their participation. You're going to meet reliability leaders, asset managers, digital twin makers, data specialists, condition monitoring professionals, IBM Maximo leaders, IoT specialists, machine learning practitioners, planners, maintenance professionals. There's a really wide variety. Oops. And that is the last slide. I'm going to go back to the best looking slide just in case there's any questions. And again, I really appreciate an opportunity to talk to you about it. One last thing. The JW Marriott, just go over the top on their cleanliness, on their sanitization, on their check-in processes. They have made this possible for us. So they're a fantastic partner to have. And with that, I'll pause and see if there's any questions. Otherwise, again, thank you so much for this opportunity to present to you.
Thanks so much, Terry. And I know one of the questions that had surfaced prior was having the transportation user group community with a breakout session.
We would love that. Now, let me just tell you, especially for those who are on the call that have put in a paper, there's going to be sort of 2 kinds of conferences going on at once. One is the virtual conference. In a few weeks, you'll see us launch Maximo World 2019 Conference on Demand. In other words, we reconstructed last year's Maximo World. We recorded the whole thing professionally, and we're about to launch that. It's sort of like a Netflix for Maximo. My lawyers tell me not to use that word. I just did it. If you can delete that, that would be really good. I don't want to get any legal letters from Netflix. But anyway, the on-demand Maximo World 2019. So we're going to do the same for Maximo World 2020. So there's 3 stages. So normally, if you've been to Maximo World, you know there's 12 or 14 different tracks. We will not be having that. We will be having those 12 tracks, but virtually. So what we're doing is we're already starting production on some of those papers, and we're trying to record so we have a deep library because there's so much. It's just like the presentation we just got on the weather. There's so many aspects to Maximo, we have to capture it. And IBM has a lot to share, the partners have a lot to share, but especially the user community has a lot to share. We've had over 100 papers submitted. So we want to produce those papers, but those are going to be on demand. So we're going to open up the Maximo World 2019 and the Maximo World 2020 on demand conference that you'll be able to stream at any time while you're at the conference, and the attendees will get a full year access to that on demand system. So the user groups themselves, we would like you to have not a breakout session. We want to put you on the main stage. So we want to give each user group about 15 minutes to come up and kind of like you opened up this presentation today and update the world so we can get you more members. There's people, believe it or not, that don't even know what you're doing. So, we have a lot of what we call the Maximo orphans in our community. For whatever reason, they don't know how to connect to these valuable IBM communities that are offered out there. And we want you to put the transportation user group forward, maybe have a panel, maybe have a quick discussion on the current issues, and then we'll move on with the conference. So on day one, on December 7th, we really want to feature all the user groups that want to participate on the main stage, and we'll start coordinating that with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Terry. We appreciate it. And I think key, as you mentioned, is reconnecting. Everyone needs to reconnect. We've been so isolated, and I think it's important, especially for our Maximo user community out there as well.
And I didn't put the slide in here, but we've determined that JW Marriott and Marco Island is a 16-hour drive within 70% of the U.S. industrial base. So if you don't want to fly, just get in your car and drive. We're arranging with the hotel to have cheap or free parking. And I never would have thought I'd be advertising Drive Market for Marco Island, Florida. But if you're hesitant to fly, come on down. We're going to do everything we can to keep you safe. And if we can't do that, we will not be having the conference. But the JW's working hard. The Reliability Web team is working hard. Our partners like IBM are working hard. And we're going to make sure that if this happens, it's going to happen in a way that's safe for you.
Thanks, Terry, and thanks for ending on a great transportation note.
Keep that transportation going. We need it. We need it. All right.
All right.
And great,
thanks.
Great web presentation. I really appreciated that one as well.
All right. Thanks again, Terry.
Sure.
All right. So again, if you have any additional comments, we can save them for the very tail end of our webinar. So our next presentation is going to be managing asset information lifecycle, construction to operations for California high-speed rail. Glenn Westling is going to be presenting. And I think you're good to go, Glenn. I'll open it up.
So, okay, Zishan's going to be co-presenting with me as well.
Okay,
so
Zishan. Yep.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, so anyway, I wanted to give you a little bit of a presentation on transportation for the Maximo user group and managing the asset information lifecycle, construction to operation. Chris Rhodes was originally going to be doing this, but he's fallen ill, so I did that cape. So what we're going to be talking about is what ZPro is actually doing at the California high-speed rail project. We are working with not only the state, but several other contractors, including WSP. We have an asset management office, and in that asset management office, we've started at the very beginning, do policy, strategy, process, which is understanding a lot of information, coming up with the documentation. There we go. My presentation is a little delayed, so every once in a while I'll pause. So what we're providing is a lot of not only technology on the Maximo side of it, solutions, but also in the functional side and helping with policy, strategy, and process. As we go through this, we're working with basically three primary contractors that are doing the construction. And so we're trying to get information from them. We're trying to integrate Maximo to different systems, as an example, GIS, so that we can show the location of the major assets which in this case are structures that are bridges and overpasses and underpasses, etc. So in the digital information, we're looking at organizations, establishing information requirements, and establishing data governance frameworks so that when we go out to these construction contractors, we can try to extract the information that is relevant to the information needed to be captured in Maximo. We're also, and I'm waiting for the presentation to catch up with me, we're also enabling EAM technologies. We're looking at and defining the requirements, integrating systems, as I just mentioned, and helping to administrate the EAM system. That one just came up on the screen, so I'll wait just a little bit. For this project, we're looking at policy, processes, and procedures. We're helping to establish the AMO organizational structure, develop the asset management policy, developing the asset management strategy, defining the asset management office capability, and the presentation still hasn't caught up with me. So I'll pause for a little bit. We're also helping to develop the AMO standard operating procedures. So this is a lot of documentation that we're trying to identify business process flows. We're trying to identify the requirements, and then how do we meet those requirements? There's a slide here. On the information strategy and governance and standards, we're working with the IT group and developing a digital strategy. We're helping to draft the standard contract language for some of that strategy. We're developing asset information requirements. We're helping to, and that's an external guide. We're also trying to help develop the asset information standard internal. Along with that, we're developing asset definitions and data dictionary documents, and we're just calling those A4s. So in those data dictionary documents, we're trying to identify the different classification of structures or assets that we're installing. And again, we started out at the very beginning, so right now they're constructing a lot of the structures, the overhead structures, the underpass structures. And so as we go through those different design and data dictionary documents, we're trying to make sure that we capture the appropriate requirements. And we're also establishing a data governance, and that's very key in the fact that as we get information, we need to be able to use it and provide it to the state and to WSP, who is the prime contractor in this particular case, so that that information can be used as we go forward. The organization, I'll wait for the screen to catch up just a little bit. Part of the digital strategy, we have the organization, we have the physical asset, and a lot of people will say, well, aren't you even talking about trains yet? No, we're still working on the railroad tracks and the structures that carry those railroad tracks. So this is definitely a soup to nuts type of project. So right now we're still working on the infrastructure and the identification of the support structure to the trains. I'm still waiting for the presentation to catch up. So I'll continue. I'll try to slow it up a little bit so the presentation catches up with me. We are also looking at the information. We're looking at all of the information that we would like to capture in an enterprise asset management system like Maximo. So we have conditions, we've got maintenance records, failure records, construction life cycle costs, asset valuations, right? Who are the maintainers? Who are the ones who need the reports? We're working with a lot of regulatory agencies trying to ensure that we have the proper regulatory information so that we can capture it and provide it to the not only the state but also to the regulatory agencies that require that information. So the presentation is cut up a little bit. We're also looking at technology. So we have the physical asset in Maximo in the middle of the circle at the bottom of your screen. So we have EcoSys, we have business intelligence, EVMS, and engineering. We have a variety of different systems and document planning. So those are all things that we're considering as we're setting up this, excuse me, this asset management platform. So we've looked at the asset definitions and standards. The ones that will come up on your screen in just a minute most of you should know what they are and how they're managed. Some of the agencies that we're working with obviously don't, so we're trying to assist them in making sure that they understand this information. We're helping to define information required for all assets, not just the trains or not just the bridge structures or but also for the rail, for even the parcel information around the tracks. We're looking at environmental information. We're looking at costs of those parcels, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to be defining data attributes required for that are required for a specific asset classification or location classification, depending on how we're going about that. So as of right now, and a little bit so that the screen catches up to my presentation. In the technology area, we're helping to develop the business processes with regards to functional and technical requirements. We're helping to implement Maximo on the federal, the FedRAMP certified AWS environments with a developed security plan. So all of our user security, all of our access has to merge in with their information. We're also integrating to Esri GIS. So in the second little panel down, you can see that we've already integrated with them, and some of the information along the track will have a variety of information. Excuse me. We're also linking assets to critical documentation libraries. Obviously, there's a lot of different organizations. We've got engineering, we've got environmental, and everybody has to access the same documentation. So through linked documents, we're creating links from the assets and locations to those libraries. And then eventually, as we get into the MBI reporting and our other processes, we will want to link work orders and job plans to the inspection reports and the inspection procedures, depending on who is doing them and where they're going. We're also created applications or through the SRs and creating workflows to help managing a lot of the information so that as they go through this different decision information that is used by different inspection groups or engineering groups, we're helping to manage that. We're helping to create process and technology solutions to take the CAD data and migrate it to the Maximo. Our next steps as we're going on, and I'm waiting for the slide to catch up again. So our next steps will be to improve / deploy the asset management process and procedures throughout the organizations, and we're already starting to do that. we have a lot of really good people helping to not only construct the assets in Maximo, but also to identify different pieces of information. We're going to implement the linear capability and integrate that with Spatial. The mobile capability for asset data validation, inspection, and assessments will be also being looked at, and we'll roll out certain functions to the public so that they can see different pieces of information. So that's the end of the presentation. I probably went through it pretty quick, so I'll let Zishan have a period to talk about.
Thank you, Glenn. And yes, you pretty much covered everything, which is great. The good thing, just wanted to bring up a couple of points here about high-speed rail project. For us, it was a greenfield project. We went in and we helped the prime vendors and the authority to establish the asset management office. That means we were pretty much, we played an instrumental part in setting up the initial SOPs. We wrote all the SOPs. We helped with gathering the requirement. We helped with the definition of the functional and technical specs. And then we took those functional and technical specs and we implemented Maximo. We trained all the users. We wrote all the test procedures. Our team is supporting Maximo right now in AWS environment. So we pretty much covered end-to-end implementation here.
All right, thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you, Zishan. Good information on a very complicated project, and I know California being one of the strictest in HSE for health, safety, and environmental. This is a huge project, and I think it's probably one of the first in the continental U.S. As far as high speed goes. So stay tuned. We'll try to keep you updated on, hope you guys will keep us updated on progress going forward through the transportation user group. All right, let me see if we have any chat questions here before we move on. Harsha, you have anything?
Hey, I don't see anything at the moment.
Okay, good. So we'll save if you have any, again, at the end of the webinar, we'll open that up. So next we have our sponsor spotlight, 5-minute overview of ZPro Solutions Net by Mr. Michael Hanscom is going to give you a quick update on what ZPro has to offer. Michael? You might be muted, Michael.
It's easier if I talk when I'm not muted.
There you go.
Sorry for the delay. Apologize. So I just want to give a quick brief overview with ZPro hosting the transportation mug and getting this back moving again. Wanted to give everybody just a brief overview of who ZPro is. It might be new to some folks. We're a relatively young company, been around for better part of 4 years now, but the experience and background of our team is decades and almost a century of time. If you really want to look at the amount of time that our staff combined have in dealing with Maximo and asset management, particularly in the transportation. So we are an IBM certified partner, Maximo Development Professionals. We are DBE, MBE, and SBE, which in the transportation space is kind of a big deal. Right now, I believe we're in 23 states, DBE, SBE certified. and we are a certified full-service IBM Maximo implementer. Where we differ from a lot of the implementers, I mean, yes, we do the integration services, we do the data collection, we do the data conversion, we can provide functional and technical services, but we also have the ability to come in, as you saw with the high-speed rail presentation, we have the ability to come in from the beginning when it's, you know, your project is a thought in somebody's eye, and help lay that entire process out from all the documentation that's necessary, the business processes, the project plans, the project controls. We have that ability to come in and help with that. So that's one of the things that we bring to the table that's a little bit different than some of the implementers that are out there now, is because our folks have the expertise, particularly in the transportation space, to be able to bring that to the table. The teamwork that we instill upon on working with our clients has been key to our success. We find that it helps in the overall transformation process, and then bringing in the technology that the clients then need to use to help them transform their business. Some of our clients, as you can see, we have a whole host. Some of our current projects, we're doing work with the Washington Metro Area Transit Authority, also known as WMATA in DC, the Port Authority, New York, New Jersey. We talked about California High-Speed Rail a little while ago, Chicago Metro, and then some of the other ones there that we talk about specifically. You know, as you can see, a lot of them are transportation, but we also do work in some of the other areas. We're currently supporting the American Red Cross. We've done work with Kaiser, and recently wrapped up a thing with the Arizona Public Services, and we're also helping some folks doing some government work in implementing Maximo at the new U.S. Army Museum. So if anybody happens to be in the D.C. area, when they do reopen things a little bit more down there is a new museum in D.C. called the U.S. Army Museum. If you have not had the opportunity to check it out, strongly recommend it. And they are actually managing the entire museum through the use of Maximo, so we're assisting in that effort as well. And you can see that we work with many of the different industries, not only transportation, but also in facilities management, all of the, you know, the associated transits, the airports, the trains and stuff. We also do work with utilities and some of the other ones there that you see. So it's, you know, we have the ability to bring some of the service offerings that we have is we have a asset management methodology, and we take this methodology and we present it to our clients, and this is what we use to work with the clients when working on any project. And the way the methodology has the ability, it's, you know, it's sort of plug and play, that if a client has done a particular piece and say, yeah, we've got all the business processes together, we know exactly how we want to do it, we just need somebody to come in and do the implementation, we can do that. But we also have the ability to develop that roadmap. We can follow through with the execution, the system configuration, all the technical services associated with that, and then follow that up with the ever important, the testing and the training, because a lot of times that gets put by the wayside is, you know, hey, I've developed this system, I've got to test to make sure it's going to do what it's supposed to do. So we can assist, excuse me, we can assist in that process to ensure that the system has gone through its end-to-end testing so that it is ready for the users to utilize, and then provide the training not only from a system administration level, but also to an end user level. And we believe in configuring the training based on the user's configuration of the system. Everybody knows with Maximo, I have options. So it's not a one size fits all when it comes to training. You need to have the training designed and implemented based on the configuration of how my system is, not how the out of the box system is, because I may have configured something a little bit differently. So we base all of our training based on the user's design and their configuration. So that makes it very, very important. And then we also provide that ever important support after you go live. It's not what I call a drive-by install. We like to continue to support and be there for the client after the fact to ensure that they can continue using the application the way it was configured and designed moving forward. And then as things change or the business processes change, the technology changes, we're there and available to assist them to make minor configurations, minor tweaks as necessary. And all that is supported by our project controls group, which provides very expert program managers, schedulers, estimators, so that we can make sure that the project is followed to the appropriate schedule and is completed on time and within the budgets. Any questions associated with that?
I think we're good.
Outstanding. Well, I appreciate you all's time, and Scott, really appreciate you all putting this together, because it looks like it's going to be a good system and very well attended.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. All right, next we have a spotlight with IBM, and Kim Woodbury is going to give us an update on the Maximo Roadmap. Kim, anytime you're ready.
Can you see my screen? Well, let's see first. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
We can hear you and we can see you, so you're all good to go.
Okay, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes, and we
No
talked
problem.
about this as all of these user groups. We think it's really important that we share what's going on with the roadmap, with the life cycle of Maximo, what the newest releases are that are coming out. But we wanted to make sure that we dedicated time to specific topics for transportation. So I am just going to take a minute here to plug a roadmap presentation that's being driven through the community website. And we've booked this now for Wednesday, July 22nd. Thanks for your help, Valerie Crawford. And the registration link is now live. So I would encourage you all to go and take a look and register. I will share these slides, Scott, so we can make sure that everyone has the actual link here and can learn all about the release that's coming out at the end of July for Maximo. The 7612, and you may have heard some of the rumblings of Maximo 8. So let me just take my 5 minutes here and give you kind of a preview of some of that content. So 7612, we continue to look at the user experience and work center enhancement. So there'll be a number of items that will deliver some additional capabilities for technician, supervisor, service requests, and supply chain, and even some new capabilities in supply chain like picking and staging, which is something we didn't have in the current Maximo UI. We're also addressing a number of RFEs, so some things that were very highly voted on, like being able to attach multiple documents simultaneously, being able to extend what we can do for an ERD builder, so I can see the relationships, updated drill down navigation. Yeah, that's really a nice one with you can drill down to deeper layers besides asset and location. There's a lot more actions you can take and drag and drop capabilities. And then there's a lot of technical stuff. So the way that we do email listener communications, and there's all kinds of currency updates, what we call currency updates. So we'll share with you, the latest version of the databases and app servers and browsers. There's also a big release around the location, what we call location-based services, so updates to spatial and linear, and how that works with displaying maps on devices. And I'm going to let Anna Paula and Ed share that with you in the next half hour, so I won't go into any detail there. There'll also be a release of Scheduler. And so that has 2 new applications for graphical assignment and calendar resource views, and then a lot of improvements to the optimization model, as well as a data cleansing tool to help you make sure you've got the right data so that optimization really works as best as it can. And then later in the year, will be updates to industry solutions, oil and gas, HSE, and our newest civil infrastructure industry solution. So continuing to add capability. So Dave and I will take you through the details of this. And then I just want to make sure that we've got kind of an understanding of what 8.0 is. So we've announced this Maximo application suite, and it will be a new way going forward that we can deliver all of the capabilities across our entire portfolio in a single part number. So it simplifies the licensing and how you can use it. We're delivering it on containerized technology using Red Hat OpenShift. And it was available. So the first one is 8.0, and I've got, out to the website. You can even just Google on IBM Maximo 8.0, and you can get an understanding of what's available in this first release that was announced back in May. There's going to be another one at the end of July, and we're going to continue to add capabilities to that containerized version that we're delivering. So if we just look here quickly, so I know my time is ticking away, you can see what you're going to start to hear us refer to as manage, which is the EAM component and all the industry solutions. But we're going to start with monitor. Later this year, we were going to have health and predict later next month. And then later in the year, we'll have the whole Maximo piece on the EAM piece as part of the containers too, and continue to add, right? You'll see assist and safety and some of the other capabilities that we've been talking about as this new branded Maximo suite. So we'll also talk some more about this in our session in another week. So we encourage everyone to join. And then I just had some backups. Obviously, I think everyone here has found the community and hopefully joined the new Maximo community as we've migrated a number of our, a lot of our content as DevWorks had sunset to either that community and our Maximo support page. So just some reference material there. With that, I think that's my 5 minutes, Scott, and I want to leave plenty of time for Anna and Ed. So,
yes.
Any questions?
Well, thank you. Let me see if we've got any questions. Harsha, we have any questions?
We do not.
Okay, very good.
All
I
right.
will stop and let those guys take over.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. So yeah, and again, all of these slides will be available, so you can get the links and all of the information for the IBM meeting coming up in July. And with that, I will go ahead and open it up to Anna Paula and Ed Jones, which will be talking about On the Road with Maximo location-based services.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Anna. It's
Okay.
all yours.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Anna, and I work for Maximo LBS Product Architect. So I have started to work in this team this year. I came from HSE and oil and gas industry for Maximo. And then the presentation today, I'm going to present together with Ed Jones. And this is basically the agenda. We are going to give an overview of Maximo location-based services. What are the offerings, what we have in the portfolio so far. And then Ed's going to present the corridors management and a little bit of the roadmap, what we have ahead of us for the next release. And so it's a common sense that location information is everywhere. The map view is being used more and more. So it's quite easy to explain the scenario in just a few words when you have a map displayed. So it has been used to locate a device, people, to show, for example, the corridors management is one of the use cases. It's much easier when you have a map capability available. And then when you have a facilities, how to represent your assets and your facilities on the top of the plant. And with COVID-19 disease, we can see a lot of maps showing how the disease is being spread, and it's very useful for all of us to understand when we see this kind of view. And it's not different when we have for EAM, for enterprise asset management data. So basically, Maximo location-based services provides a GIS solution. It's a Geographic Information System solution that allows you to see, to query, to analyze all the EAM data directly on the top of a map view. So it's not just a visualization, but it's how you interact with this data. So it's much more than visualizing your assets, but you can get more information, you can edit it, you can add your attributes, so you can add a legend, add a layer, add colors regarding the status of EAM. So, and it creates a level of awareness that sometimes when you see a table, you cannot have. So that's basically what we have been looking so far with LBS products. What we have on the offerings, Anywhere and Work Centers, they have map capabilities. I'm not going to go in details here. I'll be describing the next slides. Scheduler Plus and Scheduler Plus, it's not part of this presentation, but it's another product in portfolio that uses map to trace routing, so you can optimize the distance. If there is a set of work orders to be executed by the technician, it's possible to use LBS services to optimize what is the best route for them to execute the work and take less time. And some of the industry solutions, they have the map capability available. So utilities, it's so important for utilities industry that the map is part of the map license, the spatial license is part of Maximo for Utilities license. And in this context, Maximo Spatial is the foundation that provides all this integration with GIS systems. In this case, we have this integration with ArcGIS from Esri. So, and it's another license you need to have. So it's not part of Maximo Spatial license, but we have these two products fully integrated, and you can get and manipulate information from ArcGIS systems. So going forward, so how we position Spatial into enterprise asset management context. So giving this overview of what we have in terms of EAM, we provide visual capabilities and map capabilities for assets and locations, work management, and service requests out of the box. It's also possible to represent all of other objects from EAM with some customization. But these are the objects in the classic view that we provide already this capability. So you can see your assets, your locations, what is the pinpoints, where is your work orders, and how it works. So it's, first of all, you have your ArcGIS systems. So in this example, this is a services for roads. It's a public data set that you can have access if you want to test it, where you have all your map service for roads. And this is for roads in Massachusetts state. And then for each map services, you have the feature server where you can interact with the features on the top of the map. So for example, here we have a feature server for bridges. And then ArcGIS provides a set of APIs that you can interact with these objects. And on Maximo side, you configure the map manager to do this integration with this feature service and link them to Maximo objects. So in this case, we can see here a bridge is linked as an asset to this feature services that is a bridge and the ArcGIS system. And you can use Maximo integration framework to keep both systems synchronized. So you can add attributes from both sides, and then if there is one change in ArcGIS, it reflects on Maximo and vice versa. So we can link and keep them synchronized. That's basically the basic principle of Maximo Spatial. And then all the LBS portfolio makes use of this capability, of this link capability. Just an example of an asset. So here we have the map tab and the asset where you can link your asset. So this pinpoint represents what is the asset in the context of the map. And then you have access to all the GIS layers on the top of the map, and you can hide or show these layers and see the symbology, see the legend for each one. So basically, you can see your asset in all this GIS context And I don't have the environment running here, but if you click on the pin, you can get all the information from GIS perspective regarding this bridge that is linked to this asset. Some more details. If we have this asset as a linear asset, you can see also the linear visual control associated to this asset. And I'm not going to give too much details here, as its Edge is going to cover it better. But basically, you can see a set of attributes from your linear asset together with the map, and then you have both views at the same time. So you can see the linear segments classified by specifications, or the work order status for each part of the segment. So that's the power when we have a linear and maps and spatial maps integrated together. For anywhere, that's the mobile platform we have for now. The work execution application has the map capability, and the advantage here is it supports offline map. So you can have, if you have a great area, but your technician is going to work in a small portion of this area, you can download this piece of map, and he can work offline and then synchronize with Maximo when he has connection. So pretty much the main advantage of having anywhere with the map is the capability to use the offline maps. And we have planned this, some improvements to better distribute these offline maps. And there is also the work center, that is the map-centric view. It's where we are adding more efforts right now. So we already have a solution available. So if you go to Maximo Work Center, you have the map as a work center there, where you can see the map view. And for this map-centric view, it's not by object. So as I showed before, and for the asset to map tab, you are going to see just the asset linked to the GIS object that represents the bridge, for example. And here you are going to see all the Maximo objects that you have configured. So it's you can see work orders, assets, locations, all of them in the same asset map-centric view. And this is the current interface we have out of the box, but we are working on Graphite Framework. That's a new UI approach based on carbon components. So you are going to listen a lot about it in the near future. We are changing the UI view, but the concept is the same, is to have all the objects represented on the top of the map and have actions available, so you can work directly from the map without going application by application every time you need to do some EAM work. For the map work centers, it's possible to use on tablets, on small devices, but just for online maps. So if you are in disconnected mode, you need to use, if you have any need for disconnected mode, for now you still need to use anywhere platform. But we also have plans to have this in disconnected mode. So that's part of our roadmap so far. The main industries, energy and utilities, water distribution. We have been a lot of water distribution companies that are using Maximo LBS, transportation, chemical and petroleum for piping management. So we have, these are the main industries, but there are much more customers in other industries. And then I'm going to switch to Ed Jones. That's going to go through the business side of this and the corridors management. So thank you.
Can you hear me, Anna?
We can hear you, Ed.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, we got you, Ed.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Anna. Yes, I'm going to spend a few minutes and talk about corridors. You can go ahead and shift to the next slide. So this is the slide Anna showed earlier. And for years, we've had a linear asset manager in Maximo, and we've had Maximo Spatial. And a few years ago, I was chatting with my boss about the fact that the two products seem to be sort of the separation of church and state. You know, you worked with one, and then you shifted over to work with the other. But if you think about it, linear positioning and geospatial positioning are really just two sides of the same coin. So LBS is really a positive step for us in terms of bringing these tools together, so they are more closely aligned. And just having these tools together in the same view is a big step. You can use a linear visual control, for example, as a navigation tool really for the map. So if you have a work order that you know the linear position of, you can select it in the visual control, and then the map will zoom to that work order. So this is something that's been asked for quite some time. And so it's really great to see that we're finally aligning these things in a way that that makes logical sense. And it's really driving more discussions about the concept of the corridor and what that means. So sort of life beyond the linear asset. Next slide. So when we talk about corridors, we obviously are talking about working on the corridors, and there's functionality that's actually in Core Maximo that was driven by linear and driven by rail work. One of our customers, SNCF, came to me and said, you know, Ed, for corridor-based work, whether it's linear in nature or area-based, you know, Maximo was a real challenge for them because our job plans were static. So if I'm going to be grinding the rails, I had to set up a job plan for a kilometer of grinding or a mile. And then if the distance changed, then they were sort of stuck because the resource requirements on the job plan are static. So we work with them to make that flexible. So now in Maximo, you can declare a job plan as dynamic and establish a unit of work on the job plan and add calculation formulas. So when the work is actually being planned, the resource requirement will be dynamically scaled based upon the scope of work. And this is a huge deal for linear customers. SNCF said that it would save them close to 75% of their job plan administration because they no longer have to have job plans for every different scope of work. And I've since had nonlinear customers come to me as well, saying that they can use this for things like well fields, where one well field has 5 pump stations, but the other one has 2. And in the past, all their job plans had to be duplicated for each of the different well fields because they had different numbers of assets in them. So this is something that was brought into Core sort of as a soft release because it's one of those things that is going to mean something to linear customers much more and transportation customers more than non. And so people are starting to discover it. So I just wanted to bring it to folks' attention if you weren't aware of it. And really one of the best things is what you see on the screen is this dynamic job plan simulation. So if you're not really sure how your resources are going to calculate, but you have a fairly decent idea, you can actually simulate that inside of job plans with a sample in your asset and length to see if the resources calculate the way that you expect them to. So it's a pretty powerful piece of functionality that's almost been an Easter egg for a while that most people don't know about. So I wanted to highlight that. Next slide. So when we talk about the corridor, now that we can represent it a little more readily by aligning linear with spatial, we do start talking about what then is the physical model of the corridor. And this has spawned a number of discussions because you have different ways of representing the corridor. I can go into Maximo Spatial and simply put a buffer around my linear asset. But we also have customers that are looking not only for proximity, but for property as well. So how can they go in and create a polygon to represent the wrapper of the corridor and then drop a center line on it? So that's something that we're working on right now, is to facilitate that more readily. So now that I can see dynamically segmented data in the map, the question goes beyond that I want to create a track possession. I want to create a road closure. How can I look at my map and see not only work orders for my track or road, but I also want to see work orders for related assets and locations within that span. So the concept of modeling a corridor is really being driven by both the LBS direction as well as the new civil infrastructure industry solution. So we're seeing a lot of activity, a lot of discussion. Have sort of been different tools in the toolkit, and now they're being driven more from an experience standpoint. So this is very, very healthy. On the so on the bottom, I just have that note that this is possible today, but we're just working to improve it for tomorrow and look at the different ways that corridors can be created. As a matter of fact, I have another option that one of our current customers wants me to look at, and that is implied corridors. So if I have a linear asset and I have user-defined relationships in Maximo, can't I have an implied corridor simply by looking at those relationships and the y offset of those relationships? And that's a very good point. So that's another option we're looking at. That's pretty straightforward, but it provides a lot of value for modeling corridors as well. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we have the civil infrastructure industry solution, and this has been a great conversation because we really get to look at linear, we get to look at spatial, we get to look at the concept of LBS, scheduling requirements, and also looking at new areas that are important to customers focusing on civil infrastructure. So as I state here, it's really just a natural progression, but what it's also doing is opening doors to discussions that I may not have spent much time in the past. For example, defect management on complex structures and the concept of position when it comes to relative positioning in BIM versus absolute positioning when you come to spatial. So if we have bridge inspectors that want to capture a markup on a BIM model, how would they do that in Maximo, capture that and then carry it with the asset? And then how do I capture defects from a linear perspective in Maximo as well? Some of that we can do out of the box, but the process of defect management has really come into focus. And that, along with corridor management, have been sort of two hot topics, I will just say, for civil infrastructure. And I also want to extend an invitation to anyone on the call who would like to be part of that discussion. More than happy to have you engage and make sure that we're including your pain points as well. As I have here, our first release was really focusing more on bundling than it was on new development. It was, what tools do we have in the toolkit that we want to provide that support civil infrastructure customers? Now we're looking at, okay, now that we have the proper tools in the toolkit, how do we want to extend them in order to support civil infrastructure management? So this is definitely a good step. It's nice to sort of really come back to the world of linear and corridors, but also bring in other complex structures to discussion as well. So I think this is a very exciting time to be working in this area. And with that, I think the next slide is our roadmap slide. All right, so I'll just hand it back to you, Anna, and I'll just jump in at the end for questions.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me again?
Yes, we can hear you, Anna.
Okay. Okay. We divided the roadmap into the areas we are going to be focused on the next release. So for LBS in general, including linear, we are going to start to be OGC compliant. So OGC is the open GIS standards for map services. And if we are compliant with this kind of services, it would be easier for us to integrate it with other systems that are OGC as well. So ArcGIS follows some of these OGC standards, but we are very dependent on them to do that. So if we have these services, we should be connecting to other systems, to other GIS systems, or providing ourselves this GIS capability. So that's basically the main part of the LBS roadmap. We have MAS 8.x accommodation. As Kim said, we would be migrating to this Maximo Application Suite platform. We should be accommodating LBS into this new platform. And for linear split and merges, we would be handling the linear segments directly over the map. So for now, we use the linear visual control to establish the linear features. But then we would be able to do that directly over the map. The work centers, that is part of our main effort for visualization. We would have maps available for the technicians, that is work execution and inspections. For this map, we would have more than visualization of the objects. We would have a set of actions that would be configured through automation scripting, for example, and you can add these actions on the top of the map and take these actions. From mobile side, we should be supporting vectorized files that we call VTPK. For now, the ones we support are JPEG based, so it's a little bit heavy. So if we support vectorized files as these pieces of base maps for offline use, it would be a good advantage for customers to distribute these maps. And the work centers in disconnected mode that is related to this work we are doing here. So as soon as we have this working in disconnected mode, we would take advantage and have all these work centers capabilities also in disconnected mode. And then switch to you, Ed, for civil infrastructure roadmap.
Sure. So for defect management, which I mentioned, something to add there is the fact that we have the concept of a defect in HSC. What we found for civil infrastructure is that we need to extend that conversation to look at scoring. There is definitely an interest for complex structures like bridges to be able to enter in the extent and severity of defects, and then the vision there is that that will then inform the asset health drivers. So we have some flow there. And dynamic inspections, this is something that's been a topic for quite a long time for both rail as well as complex structures, is the ability to not only have a static inspection checklist, but to have an inspection that can have a defect catalog attached to it. And then the same defect ostensibly could be selected multiple times, and just the position information and the severity and extent would differ. So that's something that definitely is important to our civil infrastructure clients. So the other two, corridor management, I spoke about in depth earlier, as well as BIM. We know we have BIM in Maximo today. It's just how does that then play with the concept of defect management and dynamic inspections.
So thank you all for the opportunity to present in this Maximo user group and then follow our contacts. We are in this road ahead, in this roadmap, we are looking for better defining our requirements. So you would be welcome for any of these topics if you have something to add or reach out to us.
Thank you very much, Anna and Ed. Great presentation. I know there's a lot of questions around spatial and GIS and how it's all integrated with Maximo. So thank you again for that presentation. Now we've got a 5-minute sponsor spotlight, kind of tied right in with spatial, and it's a spotlight by Spatial Wave. Ali Diba is going to be doing a presentation on that and kind of give us an overview of what Spatial Wave is all about. Ali?
Thank you, Scott. I'm testing to make sure you're hearing me.
Yep.
Okay.
You're good to go.
And you see the screen?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
You're good, Ali.
All right, fantastic. So just give everybody a little bit of background. Our company's been around for over 8 years now, and we deal primarily with spatial data and organization of it in Maximo and asset management systems. And our expertise are in 3 different areas. We provide solutions to utilities, to water and wastewater, public works, and also transportation, all of which are heavy in GIS. And our staff has a large background. We were spun off from another GIS company that did primarily data organization. So that should give you a little bit of a background. We won awards 25 years ago, believe it or not, on dynamic segmentation from Esri. So that's where some of our experience comes in. So let's go on to the next slide. The wheels have been pretty popular in all the presentations. That's what some of our components are. We provide extensive capabilities in synchronization of the linear asset data from GIS into Maximo. Our solutions, well, I'll show you some slides of it. We integrate ArcGIS portal and into Maximo so that we allow you to look at maps that are have capabilities that are part of the portal. We have also a mobility solution that integrates with Maximo work orders and service requests and allows you to work offline with mapping capability as well. A little bit about our synchronization platform. It works on top of Maximo web services and the MIF platform, and it's a rule-based synchronization. It's a two-way synchronization that allows you to synchronize life cycle of assets in GIS and in Maximo. So it is completely configurable based on the rules that you have. So if an asset is retired in GIS, how do you handle it in Maximo or vice versa? And allow you to create your own scenarios for being able to synchronize the data and then let it run on its own on a scheduled or planned basis. We also have a capability to add basically a map to your Maximo based on ArcGIS portal mapping, web mapping applications, and we allow you to view information, including the ability to view basically milepostings and dynamic segmentation events on the map as well that tie to your work orders or any type of Maximo data. This is also our mobile solution, which is a GIS-centric mobile solution. We have a component of this solution also for smartphones, and you can configure this any way you want, and you'll be able to display all the information that you see on a work order or a service request, and essentially work offline with all of the rules that you have established in Maximo honored in the offline mode. And this is these are some snapshot of those, looking at, for example, tasks and resources, and adding those to your work. In terms of linear transportation assets, we integrate with dynamic segmentation related data. We have done in the past work with the pipeline companies in calibrating their data sets so that they can see what the events are on the linear segmentation. Some of that applies also to roads as well. And we are essentially, have capability to display in two-way mode with Maximo and with GIS events that are on the linear assets. You saw a number of slides in the previous presentation that covered that. Our future work that we are looking at right now is integrating with new inspections capability in Maximo, and basically allowing you to create, this is a new feature that allows you to create, conditional forms in Maximo inspections. And we are working on being able to add that to our disconnected disconnected mode solution, so that you can essentially perform an inspection and then synchronize that back to Maximo when the inspection is completed, honoring all the rules again in the form that has been created. That's about it, Scott. I hope I didn't go over my 5 minutes. And this is my contact information. This is our company, Spatial Wave, and please feel free to contact us if you have any needs or requirements along the lines of what I displayed. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. Appreciate it. So our last segment that we have of the webinar is going to be the Ask the Experts Q&A. And we had a SME panel standing by. All of the questions were in chat, and I just kind of viewed the chat panel, and it looks like any pertinent questions that were there have already been answered. And I know these webinars can get pretty monotonous after a while. You can only sit so still and need a restroom break or whatever. So I think that's pretty much it for the webinar. Presentations will be posted on the ZPro Mug events page, as well as the IBM Transportation User Group community site. We'll try to have those posted tomorrow for all you folks out there. Keep an eye on the pages as well for updates on future Transportation Mug events and other major Mug events that are planned in the near future. I want to thank all of the attendees and the presenters for being with us and presenting, again, trying to bring the community back together. If you are interested again in presenting at any point in time, shoot me a note, and glad to have you to be able to showcase your organization, talk a little bit about best practices or many other subjects around transportation. So in closing, I would like to go ahead and play a little song that I wrote for the Transportation Mug. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe at Maximo World, okay? So everybody have a wonderful day, evening, whatever it is. Thanks, and stay safe.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted a song, Scott, but thanks.
Maximo World.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thanks, Scott, for the nice session. Thank you.